following the steep, snowy path to the top of a dormant volcano. The path is blocked by a stack of logs as the party ponders a large boulder is dropped from above. Strider outruns the boulder and Gloin flies off. The rest are tumbled. Strider had darted ahead and ended in front of a small cave mouth. From within the cave, you hear yip yip and he is poked by a pair of spears from kobolds hiding in the cave's shadow. Will our adventure survive the deadly traps of the kobolds? We'll find out in just a moment. Stay with me. Thursday, September 15th, we start the evening by rolling initiative. The team makes quick work of the kobolds in the cave. After dodging another boulder tumbling down the path, Ruckus and Christiana follow Strider into the cave. Ola dashes ahead to another cave, and Gloin as Golgot flies to the next level up the next higher ridge and eventually turns back into Gloin as he follows Olak into the cave. Varinka, our 7-foot-tall Goliath, wants nothing to do with the small kobold caves and decides to scout ahead. Strider and Olak in their separate caves each investigate further into the tunnels and trip a wire that collapses the tunnel behind them. When the tunnel collapses, ants begin to flood the chamber. The ants crawl into their boots and up their legs, causing an increasing amount of pain. Christiana also investigates deeper into the short and narrow kobold tunnels, only to have the ground collapse below her. She begins to fall, but pops a feather fall spell. She drifts toward the floor, spike-covered floor, but uses her agility to avoid almost all damage. Ruckus tosses a rope down to her to aid her escape. Her hero, or at least Ruckus would like to believe that. Meanwhile, Strider breaks out his magic paints and draws an opening, a la Wile E. Coyote style, on the side of the wall. He opens a tunnel, opens a hole into the wall, and steps through. He then moves to the cave entrance and blasts his leg with a poison spray cantrip, taking care of the ants all over his feet and legs. At the other cave, Gloin moves to help dig out Olak, but Olak decides to blast his way out with a thunder wave. The blast creates enough of an opening that Olak can misty step out of the chamber, but there are still a few ants on his legs, so he gets out of the cave and he takes off his boots and he starts dealing with those pesky ants. While everyone else was having fun, Varinka did scout ahead and finds a frozen lake within the dormant volcano's mouth. On the far side of this lake is a gigantic stoic figure standing in entrance of a great cavern. Moving closer, our adventurers see that it is a skeletal remains of a frost giant, a giant holding a great axe. Ruckus addresses this giant. We enter in the name of Arvieaturace. The giant has no response. The giant is seemingly inert, but its eyes are an icy blue and seem to track the group wherever they move. Ruckus cautiously proceeds, and just as he is about to pass, the giant proclaims, "Your password has expired," and the giant blasts Ruckus with his icy stare. Ruckus thunder steps away from the danger, and Gloin then, as Golgut, the dragon, flies up and blasts the giant with his fiery breath, but the giant still stands and steps up to Varinka and pummels her twice with her great axe. Varinka takes her revenge by centering a gravity well spell on the giant's head. With that blow, the giant collapses. Varinka steps up and knocks out those icy eyes and claims them as her prize. The path to the cavern is a frozen over stream. On the walls on either side of the stream are two frozen flows of what Melthron calls Remerez honey. Christiana investigates, but her tampering with the honey triggers part of the ceiling to collapse on top of them, causing even more damage. With that, the group moves a bit further into the cavern, but then decides to take a short rest as they have all taken quite a bit of damage. After the short rest, the group comes to an entrance to another great chamber. The chamber is dominated by a frozen pond. The chamber has its exits to the north and to the west, and a giant hole in the ceiling. From the hole is a frozen waterfall. Melthron informs the team that Arvieaturace's nest is in the upper chamber. Glowing as Grolgart flies up to the upper chamber, scouts around, and when he comes back, he confirms the nest is indeed up there, and treasure is frozen into the walls of the lair. He also confirms that that he discovered the tattered purple robe and its draconic brooch frozen in a block of ice. Grolgart flies the team one at a time to the upper chamber. Melthron gives a stark reminder of the promise they made to take nothing but the robe and its magical brooch. The team takes turns chipping away at the ice until the robe and brooch are broke free. At some point, while they're taking a rest, someone notices that there's a dark figure on it, scrambles behind the ice on its many feet, scurrying. The dark shadow moves behind the ice. And after the robe and brooch are recovered, the team can see that behind the block of ice that held the robe is another chamber. In the center of the chamber is a large solitaire egg, a dragon's egg. And that is where we ended our evening. If you haven't already, if you wouldn't mind, please hit that like button. And what will our adventurers do? Well, maybe down in the comments you could put in there, what would you do? What would your character do? Should they take the egg? Should they destroy it? Will Varinka attempt to use the brooch and contact Arvieaturace? What will Varinka say? How will Arvieaturace react? And will our party escape or be caught by one or more of those dark creatures scurrying behind the ice wall? Oh boy, I can't wait. Can't wait until next week when we gather for another session of Dave's Imaginations presents Dark Queen Ascension, The Fallen. Until then, take care.